Death Note is my favorite anime of all time, straight up. So obviously, I've always wanted a video game where you can kill criminals and gain followers just like Light did in the anime. So I did make one, and if you want to try it, the link is actually in the description. But wait, if you end up getting a really high score, you should submit it to the Google form in the description for a chance to win up to $100. Stick around to the end of the video so you get to see exactly how the game works, and maybe you can get that high score. Obviously, in any Death Note game, you would be playing as Light Yagami, the protagonist of the show who gets a notebook from the Shinigami realm, allowing him to kill anyone just by writing their name down. And in the show, he's also being chased by a super smart detective who goes by L and a special Japanese investigation team. So how exactly do you turn the events of the show into a video game? Well, in 2007, Konami tried to answer that exact question when an official Death Note game was released for the Nintendo DS. And honestly, I wouldn't blame you for not knowing it existed because it was pretty mid. The main gameplay loop was all about winning debates, trying to influence members of the investigation team to your side by managing trust and doubt with each member. And honestly, the game looks pretty damn boring. It's way too slow to make you feel like you're actually living the Kira experience, and you don't even get to kill criminals. In my head, a Death Note video game would make you feel like a serial killer, wiping criminals out and gaining the support of the public. So with this passion to turn the anime I loved into a game that actually matched it, I came up with some initial ideas and started to code away. I booted up Unity and immediately got to work. Now, those of you that have been subbed for a while, you probably know that I actually started to work on this a while ago. So it's been in the works for a long time, right? Well, unfortunately, I lost all the files and code that I had developed for the game. Honestly, it's kind of my fault. I should have backed up my files, but at this point, it's a little too late for that. All of the custom environments, the cutscenes, and the gameplay I had made for it were now gone. I had to basically start from square one, and honestly, it sucked having to recreate the entire game, so I didn't. For a while, but since I end up rewatching Death Note almost every single year, I got the itch to work on this again, and I restarted development. But this time, I was gonna be smart about it. I had lost all my progress because I didn't back up my files last time, so this time I used GitHub to store and track all my changes. And I realized that I wanted to make this game as accessible as possible, and it seemed obvious that the easiest solution was to make this a browser game. This is what I ended up doing with my Chainsaw Man video game, so I figured why not just make it a browser game in the first place. Obviously, a lot of features would get a lot less complicated, and the graphics would definitely have to take a hit, but ultimately, I decided I just needed to get this project done. So here's what I came up with. 1. The gameplay would be endless. Originally, I was going to have phases of the game where Light starts out in high school, goes to college, and you know how the anime goes. But since this is a browser game, an endless format more like Subway Surfers or Temple Run made more sense. Besides, y'all Gen Z people love that, right? 2. The main gameplay would be killing criminals, and I think that's what the original 2007 game was really missing. But how do you kill these people? Well, that's simple. In the anime, Light kills people by writing their name in his Death Note. So the core gameplay of this would be a typing game. Okay, look, I know for a lot of people, typing games are really boring, but personally, I grew up in the mid-2000s, where a lot of elementary schools had typing games to teach us the keyboard layout. And as a competitive kid, I always tried to get the highest score. So I kind of wanted to recreate that feeling. 3. The investigation team is trying to catch you. Now, here's where things get interesting, but also where we get into slight spoilers, so spoiler warning. There comes a time in the anime where Light kills an FBI agent that was tracking him by the name of Ray Penber, and that actually ends up being a huge mistake. Using that idea, I decided to have it so if Light kills members of the investigation team or the FBI team that was in Japan, they'll catch on to it. How do we track the progress of the investigation team? Well, say hello to the sussy meter. This is a graph that will show you how close you are to being caught, and if your suspicion reaches 100%, L will catch you. In addition, any typing errors you make will add to your suspicion, so pay careful attention to your accuracy. But you might be wondering how you can even avoid killing FBI agents. That's why I decided to add a crime under each criminal that you see, which is randomly generated except for the investigation team. When you see a member of the police, press enter to skip their name. And while you can technically skip any name you want, keep in mind that you will lose followers if you're skipping regular criminals. Now that we have a lot of the core gameplay going on, we need a way to reward the player for getting a lot of names correct. And so the next agenda was to add a combo meter. As you write names with perfect accuracy, your combo will increase, which means you get more followers as you kill criminals. Now at this point, I realized I was missing something important, my boy Ryuk. So I created a little item shop for him, which you can open up by pressing backspace. Every time you get a new combo level, you receive an apple that you can trade to get some cool perks. One of them is obviously a potato chip, which is a reference to when Light uses his bag of chips to throw off L during his surveillance. So of course, it reduces your suspicion. You can also buy something else interesting in this store, the ability to kill L. Yes, if you've actually played the game, you may have noticed that if you try and write L's name down, you will actually lose on the spot. This is in reference to the many times L says that if Light were to write down his name, that he should be the prime suspect and arrested. So the only way to kill L is to get a Shinigami to do it. And once you do kill L, you won't gain any more suspicion for killing FBI agents or even making mistakes. Now after adding the combo meter, I knew the last thing I needed to add was a character select screen, because Light wasn't Kira alone. He most notably had the help of Misa Amane, who had Shinigami eyes, allowing her to see the name of anyone that she looks at. But how do we turn this into a game mechanic? Well, after a lot of thinking, I decided that the best idea was to show the next name that you have to type. When you watch the top scores on Monkey Type, you see that they're basically all just reading the next word while their fingers are typing out the current one. Anyway, in the game, Misa basically trades this ability for less time and a higher likelihood of getting caught, meaning your suspicion goes up faster. Kind of like in the show, where if you get Shinigami eyes, your life is cut in half, and well, let's be honest, Misa isn't really the greatest at being sneaky. But in exchange, you could theoretically type much faster, getting a higher score. Now at this point, the core gameplay was finished. It had a very complex system of checking the crime, making sure you're skipping the right people, and also typing as fast as possible without making mistakes. But to be honest, it didn't feel like I was the god of a new world. It kind of just felt like I was typing out names. So the next agenda was to add some flair. And although Factorio players would like to convince you otherwise, a video game isn't just its game mechanics. The visuals, music, and the art is what really glues a game together to make it an experience. So first on the block was to add some background music and some sound effects when the player gains a combo or loses it. I also added the heartbeat sound effect from the show when you kill someone, just so you can recreate those moments in the anime where he's like killing people and they're jumping up buildings with heart attacks. And one thing I really wanted to make sure I got right was the combo system and adding some extra flair to it. And well, instead of just explaining to you, let me show you. Now, the way I got almost all the art in this game was basically just grabbing a scene from the anime and downscaling it to pixel art. Yes, this isn't real pixel art, and it's kind of just for the aesthetic, but I thought it looked cool. You can see how I did this for his base form when you don't have any combo. You know, he's kind of just chilling, but wait, why does he kind of look like he's mewing? Now, unfortunately, I didn't add the combo portrait for Misa because I couldn't find any clips of her laughing like a psychopath, but the really cool thing about this project is that it's all hosted on GitHub. This means the entire project is completely open and free for you to use and change how you want. Fuck it, go wild, I don't care, add Squidward as a character. But of course, there was one last step I needed to do before I released the game to y'all. I had to have my friends playtest it. You have no knowledge of Death Note, right?
I think I watched where Silver L gets introduced. No, it's fun. It's a fun game.
Okay, so but like even not knowing anything about Death Note, you found the gameplay loop enjoyable.
Yeah.
How does it feel, you know, compared to the anime? Do you feel like a psychopath killing people?
I don't know about a psychopath. I did get kind of competitive. Let me do this one more time.
Overall, do you feel like it kind of captures the experience of the anime?
It does. It's fast paced, but you have to like stop and think. It's not just like a typing game where you just like blindly start typing.
And honestly, just seeing my friend ignore what I was saying and keep trying to get a higher and higher score made the game dev side of me really happy. I hope you guys also try and get a higher and higher score when you play it for yourself. Now, let's get into the details of this competition. As I said, you can win $100 if you get the highest score. The only qualifications are to subscribe to my channel, like this video, submit your high score into the Google form I have in the description, and have a Discord or Twitter account that I can DM you on. Please note that you need to have a recording of you actually achieving the score. Anyone can inspect Element and change their high score to whatever, so I kind of need proof that you got it. Then if you just upload that video to YouTube and put the link in the Google form, you should be good to go. Once that's all done, come back to this channel in a week where I will live react to all of the high scores and hopefully yours will pop off. Now, if a week has already passed since this video's come out and you're just watching it, I'm sorry, but you should still subscribe because I might do something like this later in the future. And yeah, that's pretty much all the features of this Kira simulator. And if you want to help me develop the next anime video game, which I'm thinking might be Code Geass or Jujutsu Kaisen, check me out on my Twitch stream where I actually live streamed a lot of this development. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Peace.